Hello, everyone. Another spontaneous live. There's been so much taking place. I feel the change so much. A lot has been cleared, and a lot of divine energy is coming to the earth. And then, of course, all the weather, um, mega quakes, volcanoes erupting, tsunamis, flooding. It's a lot of chaos. And it reminds me of the last time, back around 2017 when um, I got myself out of the matrix into 3D and went within and was guided from within, started doing all these things and knowing all these things and saying all these things. Didn't understand it before. Like I would speak of the golden age, and I didn't know anything about astrology. Um, and then it turns out we're leaving the age of Pisces and going into the age of Aquarius. And it's like, oh, yeah. So, like, a lot of the things I was saying at the beginning, which are videos I deleted. Yeah. But like I said, maybe somebody recorded them and they're somewhere out there. Either way, it gets integrated into the collective. Anything anyone says or does, right? It's a ripple effect, and um, there's greater understandings or awakenings or epiphanies or your mind getting blown, connections being made. And at this time, lately, it's been feeling like kind of like back in the, pandemic thing. Oh no, they're waking up too much. They're getting way too together, way too in harmony, too much love. We need to do things, cause things to happen so that they will feel low. And I keep giving the reference of, a tug of war thing where the 3D and the 5D, they're like tugging at each other. Hi, I am well. The Matrix and the Earth kind of um, wants to drag you down. Hello. Uh, like, let's say it's a job thing that you don't like, people that are um, around you, whether it's work or home or friends or whatever, they're being very difficult, and they're getting triggered and blaming you for it or blaming something else for it. Hello. And it's like, have you not noticed that you're in a cycle? Um, because you've said and done the same things over and over again, or it's the same trigger. And to be in a state of observation or self reflection and understanding what's taking place while it's taking place, it's not very easy, right? And the way I was able to do it back when, hello, back when I broke free and I started training myself from within, it was consciously breathing. So you're breathing intentionally, right? Kind of like let's say you're exercising, right? So you're lifting the weight or whatever movement you're doing it intentionally and you're just breathing. So you're wanting to observe your movement and what you're doing in order to have the movement do as accurately as possible. That way, your muscles are not coming out really, really weird from one side to the other side. Um, Stuff like that, right? You're paying attention to what you're doing, but you're not really thinking either. You're just in a feeling mode, and in that feeling mode, it's very important for when you're breathing consciously, right? And you're feeling the energies. You're feeling the energies of the world, the collective, and yourself, right? And what's coming up through you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, what's coming up through you is what you're experiencing from the collective. And the collective, let's say, well, I'll give examples for myself. So in mine, I don't agree that we have to pay rent every single month, right? So that's a drain on everybody. Um, let's say food and gas. If the cost is too great, then also it's draining, and it feels like no matter what, instead of things getting better and better and better, you know, we do a lot of work and then it pays off. It feels like we do a lot of work and then it resets right back to zero because of inflation, because of war, because of mumbo jumbo la la la. You guys are just making this shit up. Honestly. Stop looping, stop going in a circle and saying that that circle, that loop is life or reality. It's not. It's an illusion of being separate from one another. Because if we were all helping each other and strengthening each other, and there's no drain, constant drain and drain and drain, give me, give me, give me, here's your speeding ticket, you effed up, so now you must be punished. Instead of, oh no, you made a mistake, let's help this person. You know what I mean? It's very different. It all stems from a state of being um, disconnected and separate and feeling like you're just a speck in this whole giant creation and you have nothing to do with anybody else but yourself. And you're a very important speck. And that important speck is just as important as all the others, no matter what your level is, what you're doing, the work in the collective or for the overall whole. It's all unity consciousness and unconditional love. So no matter what happens, it's like I got your back. I understand that you are looping and you're struggling, you're suffering, and I'm gonna get you out because you're a part of me, not separate from me. You know, no matter what you do, if even if you spit in my face, you try to kill me, I still love you because I understand my experience is one of unity and unconditional love. Hi. So it's a big struggle, right? Like I was saying, it's a tug of war from the old Matrix 3D to the 5D and unity consciousness and love and understanding. And this one right here, the one we're working and manifesting towards and creating, is the one where everything just it gets more simple, it gets more clear, more understood, and there's no need to loop anymore because once you're in a cycle, then you understand, okay, this is the next cycle I'm in. What is this telling me? And if you think about it, everything's in a cycle in the galaxy, right? We're all moving around like this, different planets, different alignments. That's why our ancestors paid so much attention to astrology and, um, you know, any extraterrestrials or ancient civilizations that were here, doing any kind of work, it's all understood because nothing and no one's separate from you. So to not pay attention to the sun, what the sun is doing, or any other planet, or our planet, what our planet is vibrating at, if you're not paying attention to that, it's like you're not paying attention to yourself. And most people don't pay attention to themselves because they're so distracted or negatively influenced by the machine or the old 3D Earth, the old way of doing things where nothing was really understood, right? Everybody was kind of like on their own. Think of it, before the internet, because I mean, we all have telepathy, we all are connected, so we all can speak to one another, we all feel one another. But before, it was just more physical and not the non-physical part of it, right? So then once they did the internet and everybody just started sharing and connecting, just like we are doing right now, it kind of it's an external way to do something that we can do internally. So it's a way to remember, and it's happening with everything, right? Even with AI or quantum computers, so on and so forth. A lot of it is kind of like question mark, but at the same time, it's not. It's a reflection of us remembering, but it's people doing it externally because externally is how they understood how life worked or how they could do things. But it's truly internally. And that's the work that I've been doing. And anytime anything comes up through me, I get these feelings, or I'm facing these interactions on the earth, um, like being homeless or not having enough money to pay for things, not having enough money for food, whatever it is, and you have to work, 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 and it still feels like you can never get on top or it's never enough. Um, if you experience that and you still choose love, you still choose to vibrate um, as you would if you were in heaven, right? That's you bringing heaven to earth. Sorry, somebody just parked next to me and they're smoking a cigarette and they're coughing. So I turned around. Um, so, um, and it's so easy to get lost in these loops or get pulled in by the matrix or the old earth. So let's go back to the pandemic thing, right? Oh no, no, they're way too high vibe. They're way too much connecting. They're bringing way too much good energy to the earth. Look at these people. They're confessing, and they're in positions of power, and they're confessing to things they did because they feel so much remorse and guilt, and they know that they were doing wrong, right? So God was really present, and in that presence, they understood what they were doing was wrong. But when there's a void of God, or void, it's not really void, right? God's everything and everyone. But that separateness or that disconnect that comes solely from being physical and not having the non physical part of yourself, which it's always there, but it gets blocked and um, sort of gets thrown in the background, right? And you get distracted, and it's like you have to go to court. You have to, I don't know, suffer not being able to be with your family, or you lose a family member, or whatever it is that's happening that kind of like just makes you dip down and experience life in a way that you're not connected and you're not one with everything and everyone with God. And in that state is where sort of you get drained, and then they manifest, the ones that are doing the draining and causing, this is the law and this is the way it should be. They're very, very separate from their soul and their connection to God. Okay? Very separate. And then so they believe that what they're doing is just, even though it's complete injustice, right? Not in the USA. Well, yeah. Honestly, mean you could say that about any specific spot where there's a bunch of corruption or mm, human trafficking and death, and a lot of ugly stuff that happens, right? Everybody understands at some level that hurting one another is not a good thing, but they do it because they feel like, well, if I don't do this, then I don't get anything, or I won't be rich and powerful if I don't take. You know what I mean? The dog eat dog, or tit for tat. If the world's going to be crappy, then I'm going to be crappy to the world and still get mine because that's better than not getting anything. It's a very disconnected way of experiencing life. And it's exactly the opposite, though. God is within everything and everyone, and I experience it every single day. And then I'll witness people who don't have that experience, right? The feeling of being one with everything, the oneness, the unity consciousness. They don't experience it, but I can feel it within them no matter what. Even some of the ones that are like super void, or they've murdered or killed, or done horrible, horrible, horrible things in their lives. I can still feel it in them. What animates them is still, the same thing that animates everything and everyone. They're just so blocked. They're so blinded through that darkness that they've been um, sort of embodying, right? Because you're either embodying uh, God, or you're embodying the reverse of it. So it comes down to conditional love versus unconditional love. And it's so simple to say it, and to write it down and have it right there in front of you, but to experience it for yourself and hold on to that, because that's your way of being now. It's very difficult when there's so many others that are coexisting that still don't remember that, that still don't embody that. So they're embodying a fraction of it, or a disconnected version of it, and therefore they make fun of you, they laugh at you, they hurt you, they do all kinds of things, they trip out. Their first thought, that's another thing, they think a lot. So when you're thinking, you're plugging into the hive, or the collective, and everybody else who's having that same kind of thought, or the majority thought. So I practice, or I used to practice. I don't even practice it anymore. It's my way of being. I don't have thoughts. I don't sit here and start thinking, what am I going to do tomorrow? Or what am I going to do today? Or anything at all. I'm just breathing and being and observing how I feel and the energies. That way, anything comes across me, it, um, I'm sure I have native blood in me, and I've spoken to natives in a telepathy form a while back when I had broken free, and I was connecting to this tree, and I could feel there was a bunch of natives sitting around a circle, and then there was one in the middle, and that one in the middle was talking to me through a tree that I was connecting with, and he was pretending to be the tree, and he was like laughing, and it was funny. He was being funny with me. Um, but yeah, so whenever anything happens, right, I can feel it right away. Like, whoa, this person's triggered, or their first response is one of fear and defense instead of love and unity, right? So let's say, I don't know, somebody cuts you off when you're driving. If you're like, whoa, and then it's like, you slow down and you make sure everybody's okay, then great. There's no need to get upset or anything, but some people, they get so damn upset. uh, yeah, I'm sure one day I'll test to see my DNA and my ancestors and such. Uh, but like just the other day, it was nighttime, and I was getting out of a gas station, and I could barely see, and then once I was already sticking out a lot, and then I see these two weird lights, and I'm like, whoa, that doesn't look like a car. And I noticed that there were motorcycles, and they were going really fast, so I was like, holy crap. So I had to gun it. And I have this car. It's a 2019 Dodge Challenger GT, right? So I gunned it, and they thought I was doing something against them or bad, right? So they got super upset. Holy crap, this guy cut me off, right? And this one dude goes in front of me super fast, and then slows down. And if I didn't hit the brake and slow down with him, I would have hit him. And it's like, dude, I have a car. You're in a motorcycle. If I hit you, you're so effed, okay? So I don't want to hurt him. So I slow down, and then he speeds away. Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of upset about a lot of things that we feel could be done better. But if you look at the ones that are disconnected as children that forgot they're children of God or a part of God, then you could be like, whoa, okay. So yeah, they really don't know what they're doing. They know not what they do. So it gets a little bit easier, but easy is not the word. It's like it gets clearer. You can see it clearer as to what is happening and taking place. So they sped off, right? And I'm over here like, oh my God, these children. I have to have a lot of patience with these children, right? And then I was going to get something from a place that they ended up being in the parking lot of. And when they saw me, oh man, they thought I was like following them, and they were like, vroom, vroom, vroom. I was like, okay, yep, I'm just gonna drive this way because I got nothing to do with you. And if you're triggered and upset and you think I'm doing anything, I'm not. So later, right? And then I see them again in the parking lot after I'm leaving, and one of them turns on his bike, and he's like, vroom, vroom, because they were just talking to each other about the big thing that just happened. And there was a girl too that was with one of the guys. So poor girl being dragged into there, right? Or God knows if she's cool with going that fast and doing such dangerous things that could lead to her death, right? Maybe she's okay with it. I don't know. But yeah, as soon as they saw me though, and I started driving away, they thought I was gonna drive towards them, and they took off. Like if I was gonna chase them down or something. It's like, so that's an example of being plugged in to the matrix or the 3D or the disconnect, um, and conditional love, where their first thought and the first experience is a fight or flight, right? Defense. Um, Somebody's trying to hurt me. Grr. And to me, it was the exact opposite. It was like, things happen and it's all good. Everybody makes mistakes. That's the way we learn. That's how we grow. Um, the only way we don't grow is when we make those mistakes and we make them over and over again. So that's the loop. So that's really what's happening with everybody, right? Um, the fact that there's war again, and all these things happening again and again and again, or you'll see it in the court and the justice system. Um, it's such a poor reflection of God, the way they do things, because they have that disconnect. Sorry about that. Because they have that disconnect. If they weren't disconnected, or choose to experience themselves as separate from God and everything and everyone, then they would have such greater understanding, and there would be no need for war or greed or doubts or anything like that. Because anything you're doing to yourself, anything you're doing to others is what you're doing to yourself. Only they're so blind that they don't understand or remember that. So that's why when you're in a state of unity consciousness and in harmony, serenity, unconditional love, you don't want to harm anything or anyone as much as possible. And like I said, there's accidents and things happen. But intentionally, you don't want to harm anything. Not a tree, not a butterfly, not an ant. Um, Even things that are perceived as, like, let's say, scary. Let's say it was, I don't know, a venomous spider or something. No, no. Some people are like, kill it! Kill it! No, what? No. Stop. If I'm around, you're not going to kill it. And if you kill it around me, I feel that. And I don't like it. I won't, I won't start cussing at the guy and start pointing my finger and, like, telling him he did something wrong. I just feel that experience as a very poor choice. And it's fear, like I said again, um, their fear sort of mind is what triggers them to do such stupid things. And it's in every level, right? In every position of power that's here on the earth, and they feel entitled to make these choices for themselves and others, that affect so many people, and it hurts them in various forms, right? So to me, I'm just observing and absorbing all of it. And when I'm faced with these, um, let's say, acts or vibes of conditional love, I take them and then I turn them into unconditional love. I transmute them. I choose love, unconditional love, no matter what happens. And in doing so, I send that back out to the collective, right? So that's what's happening. We're all looping over and over again in different scenarios, different um, parts of the collective. And everybody is in a separate assignment. And in these assignments, it's, marriage, children, let's say maybe it's human trafficking or drugs, maybe it's the jail system, maybe it's the court system, maybe it's just, I don't know, different genders, maybe it's something having to do with abortions. It's so many different things that each one of us are experiencing. So whatever's coming up for you in your experience is your assignment in this collective that you're purifying, that you're clearing. She taught me to release outside and not kill. She is. Yeah, I do the same thing. It doesn't matter what it is, a spider, a fly. I take them out. I remember, so I work for a couple of moving companies, right? And very difficult work. But sometimes the people don't move their furniture for ages. And there was a black widow underneath one of them, right? And one of the other guys I was working with has arachnophobia. So he's like, no, no, I ain't touching that. And he's like, you have gloves. Why don't you? I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't mind. And then I saw the black widow there, so I grabbed it with my glove, and then I went and I put it in the grass. There's no need to take life because you're afraid. That's the reason why people do it, right? It's such a poor excuse. Tried to be nice, petting a stray cat yesterday, and he almost bit me low. That's funny. Cats actually have been coming up a lot. I also do DoorDash, right? Which is something I was doing earlier, and it said it wasn't busy, but then it was complaining right now that they're busy and they need me. So it's an up and down with that. But I've been running around doing that, and I've been running into kitties. And they've been really chill kitties. Super nice, playful, and I get to pet them, which is a plus. Excuse me. But yeah, so even animals, so their experience is very similar to ours, but they're more in that feeling mode, and experiencing the vibes. So that's why they're able to pick up on people's energies. If somebody's coming, you hear dogs barking inside the house. They can't see you, but they sense you. They sense you right away. Um, it and if that kitty has gone through a lot of horrible things, then that kitty's gonna view you the same way, right? Why is this person gonna be any different? And then that's a lot like people. They go through a bunch of triggers and traumas and suffering, and they're like, well, I just I got to defend myself because I'm being bullied, or I'm being hurt, I'm being manipulated, and I'm gonna have to fight back, kind of thing. Or they're in that experience long enough that they think it's normal, or they absorb too much of it without understanding what they're absorbing. They don't purify it, they don't alchemize it, they don't change it. So then they start to behave in those ways. They start to hurt other people and do the same things that were done to them. And you can see this, right? In from generation to generation, parents treat children a certain way, and then those children go out and treat other people that same way. So if you don't have a very loving and understanding mother and father, your chances of not being the same way, then it takes a lot of resilience. And for a lot of us, that's what it took. We got beaten, we got whatever happened to us, and we still chose love and still chose to not embody that energy. That's us purifying that part of the collective or that part of our bloodline in our ancestors and generations where it all just went to crap. I felt that he was having a hard time, and yeah, he was in fight or flight mode. Yeah, yeah, you could definitely feel it inside of people. And if you can feel it inside of people, that's the connect, that's the unity. That's proof that we're all connected, right? And to me, when I first got here and I was a little kid, that was my experience, and I thought everybody else was the same. And once I started to understand that that wasn't the case, I was like, why are they acting? Why are they pretending? Why is their voice changing? Why are they lying about what they're doing and then they're blaming me for it? Why is this happening? Why is their first thought or response a negative one? And it made me feel depressed, right? And lonely for a very, very big portion of my life. And um, that's how a lot of people felt. So anything that you're thinking, feeling, or saying or doing, um, and you're still plugged into the matrix, then that is you embodying that portion of it, but for the whole. So it's significantly amplified in your experience for you to be able to observe it and absorb it in a way where you can change it, because it's so self-evident as it keeps happening over and over again, and it only gets more potent, or you get more depressed or more angry or whatever it is. Ultimately, you don't agree with it, and you end it. But some people actually go along with it, and they amplify it, and they just pass it on to the next person, and they treat other people very poorly, to say the least. And that's why they're not happy, even though they have all the money, or whatever. uh, I wish you safety in your travels. It's good to put some sage and sweetgrass in your car for protection. My wife also puts different stones in our car every month. It helps energy. I mean, I have this that I used to wear, and then this is like a little dream catcher thing, and some feathers. But ultimately, for my own protection, is kind of like I just do it organically, and when I'm around people, it affects them. If you have a very loving and high vibe, and very healing, vibe to you, the energy, people are going to pick up on it as much as you're picking up on their anger or their suffering. It's kind of like it kind of mixes or interacts, and then the outcome of it is determined by which had the greater influence. So if you're embodying, God in heaven, and just purifying energies, then that's going to affect them, especially if they're open to healing, or open to things getting better. They want to end their cycles, they want to end their suffering, they want to go back home to heaven, to God. But then you do come across the people that are just, I don't know, they do black magic. They purposefully manipulate and influence people into their suffering, right? And those people are the ones where it might be a little more difficult interacting with them, because you might feel drained, or you might feel anxiety, you might feel a lot of fear amplified, because that's what they're experiencing. But if you stay in your heart and you keep choosing unconditional love no matter what, then they can't do anything to you. And then they start to feel drained, or they start to feel even more triggered, and their suffering gets amplified even further, because they can't take away your love, your joy, your harmony, your peace, um, because you're not allowing it. You're understanding what's taking place. And that comes in all kinds of format, right? Whether it's a loved one at home, or in your life, or if it's a complete stranger, or a police officer, or whatever it is, you pick up their vibe, their energy, how cold they are versus how warm they are, right? It's all energy interactions that's taking place. Well, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I know I'm good no matter what happens. And if anybody wants to hurt me, they're only hurting themselves. And I'm a yellow spectral warrior, so they know not what they do when they try to come across me. To say the least, they have no idea, okay? And I'm not, I don't believe I'm above them in any way. It's more of, uh, I don't know, to put an example, let's say the sun, for example. You want to pick on the sun, you want to go, I don't know, curse the sun, or beat up the sun, go ahead and try. Go ahead and try. You're only going to destroy yourself. Any war is an internal war. So if they're pointing their finger outside of themselves and saying, no, we're going to war because of this, this, and this reason, it's really because it's inside them. They have not made peace. They have not become one with everything and everyone. So there's always going to be conflict. In a disconnected world, there's always going to be conflict. And there's going to be resolutions and answers. But instead of choosing those, they don't exist because of the disconnect. It sort of forces them to view one way only, and nothing is one way. Everything is, it's multiple different ways, right? It's like, let's say, multiple ways to interact with the sun. It's not just in one way, right? You could do it physically with your hands, which I've been doing a lot, right? You absorb the sunlight in your hands. That's why the Buddha statues and other statues you see that have their hands out, they're receiving and holding the energy from God in their hands. They're absorbing it, and they're being influenced by it in a very good way, in a very positive, peaceful, and loving way. And then you'll see them have one hand like this and then one hand out. That's them receiving it and then sending it back out to the collective, to existence, to what they're creating or co-creating. And lately, there's been so many triggers, so many acts of the Matrix to try to put people down. And I'm sorry, but my job here is to not allow that to continue. That's why I came here in the first place, right? That's why God sent me here. And for a lot of us, in many different ways, it's the same thing. So that's why we stand strong, no matter what happens in the face of anything, no matter what is taking place. You choose unconditional love, because that's choosing yourself and everything and everyone, ultimately. And in doing so, that's how we're doing the clearing. That's how everything's getting better. That's how the 3D is being transformed into the 5D Earth, right? And so on and so forth. It'll just, everything's just going to keep spiraling up and getting better and better, more connected, more understood, everything more clear, and less struggles, less making things so damn difficult where you can't live, you can't eat, you can't breathe fresh air, you know? You see what I'm talking about? I keep getting all these interruptions. That's the Matrix constantly hitting you with this notification, that notification. You have to pay this, you have to pay that. Oh, your car insurance is coming up, your registration's coming up. You have to pay, 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 pay. And all the time that we're here, what we're doing is work for everything and everyone, right? And they don't see that. They're completely blind to it physically. But non-physically, in their heart and soul, they know the shift is taking place. How much they understand or they're aware of is what they're choosing constantly, right? To be more in unity or the opposite. Stay fragmented. Stay in a state that is not natural. It's not who and what they are. And if you want to understand at least a little bit of who and what you are, you can start with, well, I mean, I use this with a lot of people, and Aluna talked about it at the beginning, back when we were all connecting, right? And I didn't understand back then how much it really counted or mattered, but everything in the Mayan calendar, and the thing where I'm a yellow spectral warrior, it's happened to me. The Christ consciousness, the being a living mystic, not experiencing time, a spiral vortex. I've seen all these things. My soul has come back to me, or I reeled it in, kind of thing. A whole bunch of things. The Kundalini kind of awakening thing that I had back in 2017 when I broke free, that was my sacred fire that awakened, because I had enough of being drained and kept in a state of suffering. And it was so hard to think or experience anything. Hold on, it's getting super hot up in here. I'm gonna lower these windows a bit. So, yeah, I understand the work that I'm doing here. Hold on. Buddha never defeated death, only Jesus died and rose again and spread his spirit onto mankind. Oh, yeah. Um, it's different levels, right? Um, of doing the work. So the died and rose again, the resurrection, Yeah, that's another state, a higher state, a closer state. And they really don't compare themselves at all, right? One who is an ascended master would not compare himself to another, or say one is greater than the other. It's more of this person is in this position because of what they've been able to obtain and accomplish and remember and do for the overall collective. So it's more of just understanding and contributing. My wife buys her hair when cut. People were upset for what reason? People are fearful of unknown. Berries? Oh, hmm. Yeah, no, people act very, very strangely to anything that you might do that's out of the norm or their reality. And then they always want you to do what they do. Kind of like, for an example, most people will line up their bed in their room a certain way, right? Always a certain way, or most people do it a certain way, so that's just kind of accepted and done. But then there's people that are like, no, it doesn't feel right. It's not organic. If I put it in this position here, that feels more real, more organic. I vibe with that, right? So it's your state of being that creates everything. Your thoughts, your emotions, all of it. What we tend to struggle is when we're coexisting, right? And coming across others that trigger us or put us in a state of how they're feeling. So if they're really angry, they might come up to you and start yelling at you, and that might trigger you to start yelling back at them. But if you're at peace and you understand and you're observing and you're not just stuck in the matrix and stuck in thoughts and very distracted, if you're very whole and connected and grounded, then they can come and yell at you or say they want to fight you, and you're going to be like, why would I fight you, man? No, no, thank you. And it kind of disarms them because you're not helping fuel that fire that's burning in them that wants to destroy. The fire you're fueling is the one that wants to create and coexist and choose love no matter what happens. Because if everything and everyone... Sorry. This is why I had the windows up. I'll just turn my car on. If you're in a state of being connected to everything and everyone, it's kind of like... Sorry. It's kind of like your hand is super upset at you and you're like... And it's like barking at you. Roar, 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 roar. You did this to me. And I'm over here like, no, hand. No. You're a part of me, okay? It's okay, hand. I love you. Alright? No matter all the ugly things that you've said to me and done to me, and you punched me in the face, I still understand that you don't understand, obviously, because you're doing these things. You're looping, you're forgetting, you're disconnected. So please, wouldn't it be better to choose love and to be understanding? That way you won't be angry? You don't want to be angry. And the hand's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. I forgot I was a part of you. Ha, silly me. Something like that. But does it work that way? Not really. It would be nice if it was that easy, but it's not. Because that hand, let's say if it's a person, it's full of all the experiences and energies and vibes and frequencies that they experienced since they got here, right? So they absorbed trauma or suffering since they were infants, maybe complications, surgery, whatever it was, neglect, freaking sexual abuse, whatever it is, they carry that. And then the next phase of their life, let's say school, they were bullied, they were treated with I don't know, and just, what is it, discrimination is what I'm looking for. Maybe because of their gender, maybe because of their race, whatever it is. Maybe they're really smart and other people don't like that, or they're jealous, whatever. And then you keep going and it's like maybe college or maybe a job and there you were abused in whatever format. And everything just gets carried and held on to. Because I remember when I broke free, I was holding on to all of it. Because if you constantly think about it, if you still feel it within you, things that have happened to you or you've done to somebody else, let's say, if you're holding on to that stuff and you don't purify it, then you just sort of being a beacon of it and you're sending it out to the collective constantly. So we want to do the opposite of that, right? That's our assignments here, is to absorb these energies but not hold on to them. We have to alchemize them. We have to purify them with unconditional love and understanding that those experiences were born from illusions of being separate. And once you're able to get to that level, then the work just becomes easier and easier and more clear no matter what happens. And ultimately, they can't do anything that you won't survive or understand because you're so connected to God, to everything and everyone. Is the elder of family. Once he visited and saw the simple life we created, he told us he's proud of the abundance of love he felt in our space. That was most important to wife. Not possessions, not riches. Space reflects energy. Correct. Yeah, well said. Myself included, I could be very upset that I don't have a home. Um, I got, well, I had to leave one job because of discrimination, and then I was fired from another job because of their own trauma and how they view reality and myself and jealousy and stuff. And I had a wife and family, and I was pushed away, and I was told I was a lot of those ugly things that were being done to me, right? So when you're lost and separate, all you do is embody that, right? And in embodying that separateness, all you're creating is more separateness. So one must embody, um, unity, unconditional love, in order to be an example and embody that for others to see that it's even possible that it exists. Because most people don't. I'm not going to say most, but a lot of people don't um, believe in God or in anything greater than themselves. They might view people that are in positions of power or fame as something above them. And nothing and no one is above anybody. Um, there really isn't any like good or evil. It's more of what works and what doesn't work, right? Um, for the overall whole. Because there's very different viewpoints or understanding or remembering that it causes, um, let's just say, they're only able to travel down a very small path of a very, very long one to get to source. But it's not really long. It's more of there's a lot of letting go or expectations or creating without feeling the unity. So you're creating only for yourself or only for a fraction of the whole when you're a part of the whole. So it's kind of like, I don't know, let's do the hand thing again. I neglect the hand. I don't cut my nails. I don't wash my hand. I do it to my other one and everything else, but this hand I neglect. Why would I do that? That makes no sense. But in the disconnect, experiencing yourself as separate, you're completely okay with it. It's not a part of me. They don't matter. Ants don't matter. Spiders don't matter. Animals don't matter. Let's kill and eat them because they don't matter, or because I'm hungry. I don't know really what the reasoning is, why they consume living things in that format, because if you consume life in like vegetables or things that the earth is naturally giving you, that it's like absorbing sunlight, right, in your hands. You're absorbing that same sunlight through what the earth is giving you naturally, organically, without harming. It's all in a state of oneness. So anything and everything that can be done not to harm anything and anyone is what one would do, or consider, or in their concept of creating anything, it would be all included in there. One, it was Bob Marley. When he was in an interview, they asked him that if he was a rich man and if he had riches, and he's like, when you say riches, what do you mean? And he's like, do you have a big house? Do you have a lot of possessions? And he's like, possessions make you rich? And he's like, no, no, I don't have those type of riches. And he said, riches, life is my riches forever. And that's true. I don't believe I've felt this connected or this happy or this at peace in the whole time that I've been here. I mean, I felt pretty damn good back when I broke free and all that stuff, right? I did feel so much more power and so much more God present, but um, there was still a lot of work to be done here on the earth, right? I helped, right? But um, I still felt there was a lot left within inside people, and that I cannot take. I would be taking lessons away from them. I would be taking assignments away from them if I were to do it. And if that was the case, then I would be the only one here doing the work. But I'm not. We're all doing it together. It's not one person or one soul that does everything. Because maybe if that one soul was all that existed, then that would be an assignment for that one soul. But it's not. It's all of us together in the smallest ways. If you open a door for somebody, or if you say, have a good day, or, acts of kindness or love or consideration or stuff like that, or going out of your way to do your best to help somebody else, and you don't have to, you don't need to, but you choose to because you want to. Because that's how you are on the inside, right? You want to be giving. You want to build them up. You want to help others become stronger, right? It would make no sense to break anybody down or put them down or hurt them because you experience them as yourself. So why would you do that? Why would you scheme? Why would you lie or manipulate in any form when you're embodying the exact opposite? It doesn't make any sense. But people embodying, the state of separation and disconnect, illusions of being separate, they're going to believe the worst about you because that's their current state of being. That's their experience of life. It's like, oh no, he's being way too kind to me. He must want to get in my pants. He's being way too kind to me. He must want something in return. And I don't know what that is. So I'm going to be mean. I'm going to not accept the help or the love or the consideration that he's giving me. And, it gets more clear and more clear the more that you clear the vibes, the energies, the frequencies in the collective that are in a state of disharmony, in a state of disconnect. Like I've been saying, illusions of being separate. The veil covering, not allowing heaven to come to earth, is gone, removed. And in that removing, it's like the masks are coming off, and we're seeing clearly those who are doing great injustice or harm to one another, to themselves ultimately, right? And then that's what kind of, to me, makes it clear or easy, is when anybody's trying to harm me in any way, verbally or mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. It's like I can feel that they're struggling and that they're doing it to themselves because they're in a state of separation. What they're trying to create was something solely for themselves, only for themselves, and they feel justified. Or maybe they just given up and don't care about right or wrong or anything that they're doing because they've had enough. And instead of finding the love and peace within themselves that would free them from, experiencing separateness and being alone, they lash out and they want others to feel the same way. So we have to be very observant and understanding of what we're choosing from moment to moment in order to do the work that we're doing here. And, the global stuff, weather-wise, that's happening is a reflection of our state of being as well. Everything is. The planets, all the alignments, the prophecies, all of it is taking place um, because of what we're choosing and the work we're doing. So we're definitely going in the right direction. It takes um, examples or people to embody the work that we're doing in order for others to um, have that epiphany or their mind blown or connections made or reconnect or just remember from within, because it's all within, uh, what they're doing and how they're doing it and why they've been doing it. And they'll be able to tie every little thing that's been happening and be like, oh, that's why I went through this and that's why I went through that, because I'm clearing that part in the collective. And some of us take on really, really difficult assignments, right? And these assignments, one would say or could say that they're impossible, right? But nothing is impossible unless you hardcore believe it's impossible, right? Everything's possible because eventually the impossible becomes possible as soon as somebody does it. So that's why you being the example of the impossible, then they're like, well, if he did it, why can't I? The same reasoning that people use of, well, other people hurt me, then probably that person's going to want to hurt me too. You know, it's association sort of, or um, connecting with what you have. Kind of like I don't know, if you were buried in a coffin and all you had was like a lighter um, and some, like, I don't know, let's say an ice pick. That's all you had to work with. Then you would try to use those things to get out of there, or in a way before, you gave up or you kept fighting until you freed yourself, or you just let yourself be buried. If you have examples, or all of a sudden you light the lighter and then you see, oh, there's other things in here I can use, then it's like, oh, now I have all this. So before it was more physical, right? And how do I figure things out physically and with my thoughts and my mind? And now it's like, how do I figure things out with my heart and soul and God? The non-physical, the other part of the greater whole. It's the origin of it all. So you being separate from that, or not remembering it, or it not be in your awareness or understanding that it exists and it is who and what you are a part of, then it's very limiting. Your experience would be very limiting, very kind of black and white, or boring. Because that's really what it felt like before. It was like super boring, and then once I started remembering from within, it was like, whoa, I can do what? It just, so much awesomeness. I'm guilty of that sometimes too. It seems like an ingrained learned behavior. It becomes hard work to control that in the moment of weakness. Yeah, But in knowing it though, and now understanding that every time you embody that energy, or you're experiencing that which that's not you, or um, it's a part of you in the collective, that you're purifying and alchemizing and changing. Once you start to view it or understand it or remember that it's that in that way, then next time it happens, it's like you could take a deep breath and be like, I know what this is. And you know what? If I could choose unconditional love, or to alchemize it, to change it, to make things better, why wouldn't I? Why would I still keep choosing to be blind to something that I can clearly see happening? And I have a greater understanding of it now than before. Because before, it was why? Big question mark. Why? Why would anybody do these things? In the not knowing, that's the suffering, right? That's disconnect. But once you feel connected, at peace and harmony and unconditional love, there is no why. There is just um, crystal clear understanding. They know not what they do, and yourself included at times, right? And if you've ever done anything that maybe you feel is unforgivable, or super, super harmful or cruel to somebody else, don't um, allow that to weigh you down. No matter what it is, at any level, even if it was a little thing or a very big thing you did, don't let it weigh you down. Um, for you to believe that something's unforgivable, or uh, can't be understood, is not it's not true. It's part of the disconnect and the illusions of being separate. Because God is going to understand, right? That's where unconditional love comes from. No matter what happens, I understand that you did not understand. For if you did understand, you would not have done it. So it's not like an excuse. It's not, oh, I forgive you. It's more of, I understand you completely. And therefore, there is nothing to forgive. Only that which is needed to be understood or remembered from within. So, often, doing this type of work, we feel like we're not doing enough, or we effed up, big mistake, or we're still looping, or whatever. Um, you can be mad at yourself, or mad at God, or just life in general, but ultimately, if you understand what's taking place, you can you can be okay with everything. Well, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. It's the reason why I'm here, right? I do these lives, and then I'll speak to people, just random people out in public. Lately, a lot of people have been coming up to me and just randomly talking to me. And it's their soul being magnetically pulled to my vibe, and they know they're going to receive something that'll help spark more remembrance, more unity, more unconditional love in their experience. And they will not be, or most of them won't be aware of it, right? They'll just have these interactions, and then perhaps they're on a completely different timeline after that, because their perception or their understanding, even if it grew by a hair, it's still enough to get them to where they need or want to be. Because nobody wants to stay in suffering. Nobody wants others to suffer truly. Even the ones that do that to other people, they're suffering so horribly. Because whatever you have within you is what you're outputting to others, right? If you have doubts about yourself, you can have doubts about others. Or sometimes it's reversed too, right? You can only have doubts about you and hate yourself, but then you're like, no, no, but you're strong. You can do it. You're good. You're capable. Why would you believe that these other people are capable but not yourself? You know, you're just embodying that part of the collective. Um, Sometimes it's disease or illnesses that you're embodying and you're experiencing in order for you to be like, why do I feel sick? What have I been around? What have I been doing? What have I been choosing? What have I been experiencing that has made me this way? Because anything that we get sick from, um, we can heal from. If it came in us, then we can purify it, we can change it. There's so many different things we can do. And, sometimes it can be scary, um, but ultimately, there's nothing to be afraid of. I got you, God got you, everybody got you. No matter what happens, we're all going to be okay. And, free will kind of makes it to the point where the process can take longer, but ultimately it's the process that needs to take place in order for the outcome to be authentic or real. Because, and that's why I don't tell people too much about myself or about themselves or what they're going through. Because if you give somebody way too much, then it can be overbearing and then they fall apart, right? So sometimes you got to cycle. Sometimes you got to make mistakes over and over again to understand it in a much greater viewpoint. For an example, you can read about um, how to be a firefighter, right? But actually fighting the fires and being there near the flames and the heat and the situation, the adrenaline, all of it, it's completely different. So one needs to experience what is taking place in order to clear it, in order to purify it. That's why we came here. That's why we're here. That's why we're suffering. That's why so many others have suffered and gone back to source, back to heaven, back to wherever they wish to be. Was because of that. Coming here to do this work for the overall whole, to be at peace and to create without so many limitations and war and all that stuff. Well, I was only going to jump on here for a little bit. Does anybody have a question or another comment that they would like to say? I'm just going to wrap it up. I gotta do more Matrix stuff, work, and I want to go see my kids. I love them so much. I'll, um, I'll sit and feel here for a sec or two. This is what I do the majority of the time. No matter what I'm doing, I'm just observing and feeling and having no thoughts. And just breathing consciously. It's very peaceful and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, so it makes you feel very relaxed. When your nervous system is out of whack because you're triggered or you feel this or that or too much adrenaline, that's when you're in a state of disharmony. So I practice it all the time, not only for myself, but to shoot and give that out to the collective, It's a lot of responsibility to remember that anything and everything that you're doing, you're sort of giving out to everybody else, right? And everything else. That's where the fear comes in for a lot of people that don't want to remember. don't want to choose unconditional love is because it is a lot of responsibility. Because anything and everything affects all of us, but it can also strengthen us so much. So the outcome is a much greater one, to reconnect and remember, than to stay stuck and loop and forget. Ignorance is not bliss. Bliss is bliss. Unconditional love, not conditional love. And that's what we want to pass on to everything and everyone else, right? To our children and to the earth. Yeah, everybody is on their journey, their own journey back to God. You're right. It's so beautiful. I love it so much. And God loves you so much. So much. Well, I'll leave it here. For some reason, it takes forever to upload these lives on YouTube because I don't have a constant, fast Wi-Fi connection. I'm just using my phone. Being, homeless and struggling with all this matrix stuff, it can be very limiting, but to feel so limitless and so much love, to give that out to everybody without condition. It's like, I'm not, okay, God, I'll do all this work for you, but you got to give me a big house, you got to give me income so that I can do it. I don't function that way, nor do I charge anybody for any kind of help. That would be like charging my hand. Again, the hands example. I'm gonna charge you, hand. Every time I wash you, you're gonna have to give me something. You're gonna have to stroke me or be loving to me, scratch my back. You know what I mean? Scratch my back. No, that's so silly. Super silly. No, every heartbeat, every breath, every moment experienced in unconditional love, it ripples out to everybody. And I can feel that. And that is the instant reward. That's God. And I've not experienced anything better than that. I believe the only thing that'll be better than me feeling it and a few of us or some of us feeling it alone is everybody doing it, or at least the majority. Because the more of us that do this and understand this and embody God within ourselves and output it, bringing heaven to earth, then the easier it is for everybody else to do it too. It's kind of like, let's say the sun was being blocked, right? And then every time we're doing the work and the clearing, that block is being removed. So the sun is just shooting all this love, unconditional love. Boom. So now people can see what they couldn't see before. They can experience what they always knew was there, but forgot about it. I'll leave it here. I love you all, unconditionally, no matter who you are and what you've done, without condition. Even if you've hurt me, even if you've hurt the ones I've loved, if you're in a state of unity and consciousness and embodying that with every breath, with every heartbeat, every moment, you die and are reborn more connected, more closer to God, more closer to everything and everyone. It's just your experience. And no matter what happens, I'm going to embody this experience, and the old earth or the matrix or those who are still or remain or choose to be disconnected, be veiled by the illusions of being separate, they can try or do whatever they want. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. They have to get through me. If that's what they choose, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here with all of you, no matter what happens. There's no giving up, there's only sort of growing up. If that makes sense. Well, goodbye. For now, but not goodbye. I love you. I feel you always in my heart and my soul. All of you are a part of me.